Morning, it's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself. Okay, it's a new day. Now, many of you saw me experiencing trauma the other day as it was rising. And that's what's supposed to happen when you have trauma still left in your body and stuff from the outside world or your relationships or the environment or whatever's going on hits that stuff that's still buried deep inside that trauma. This is what happens.
So today we're going to learn the actual steps to healing deep, complex trauma. It's a long video today, but it's a really important one. So stick with me to the end because we're really going to go over these steps in detail. So we're going to learn from my example yesterday.
So that was a clear picture. I was showing you in real time as my trauma was rising. How do we dissolve that? We allow it to rise. We allow it to be felt. We allow it to be seen, we allow it to be heard. We don't try to change it, we don't try to suppress it, we don't try to reject it, we don't try to deny it, we don't try to distract from it, we don't try to do anything but allow it to be there, to notice it, to witness what's actually happening, to witness the trauma, and then to love yourself, to show yourself love, kindness, and compassion to that inner child inside you where the trauma is stored, right? What does that child need? What did I need in that moment? Okay, we're analyzing this now. What did I need? I needed to feel safe. I needed to hear the words, I see you. Right? I see you. I understand your story. I hear you. I needed to be witnessed, to be seen. And I also needed to feel safe, loved, accepted, powerful, not powerless. So let's analyze this further. There's a lot been going on in the world right now, and the things going on in the world right now are they're directly hitting my stuff, my deepest trauma. That's why it's rising for me. Is trauma rising for everybody? No, because they might not have this stuff. This might not be an issue for them. If you completely have had great experiences with doctors, with the pharmaceutical medication and the medical industry, of course this won't be hitting your stuff. Why would this be hitting your stuff? The only way it's hitting your stuff is to look at someone like me and say, she's hitting my stuff, right? She's hitting my stuff because she's opposing something that makes me feel safe. Now I'm getting more scared, or I'm getting more fearful, or I'm feeling more out of control, like something bad could happen to me because of her choices. So it's all in the eye of, everyone has their own stuff, their own traumas very deep inside. So the world right now happens to be triggering my stuff, my trauma, on a very, very deep level, because this is the basis on which my whole trauma began. When something hits the root, the very genesis of your trauma, the eye of the trauma, this is, and it comes fast, it comes hard, and it comes too much at once, right? Because when we're healing trauma, we titrate healing trauma. You never want to heal your trauma all at once. You're healing little bits as it comes up over time, and you're healing it. You're looking at it. You're dealing with what's coming up as it's coming up, and you're never taking on more than you can handle. What happens when we take on more than we can handle? We have a break. We have a trauma break, or a nervous breakdown, or an emotional breakdown. This is what those are about, is when we're forced to deal with too much trauma at one time. It's overwhelming, and we're out of resources to cope with the amount of pain that brings up within us, deep within us. This is where breaks happen. Do I think my break is over yet? Do I think my trauma has been completely resolved? No, because I think that what's going on in the world is only continuing the tension around the subject. That is, the eye of my trauma is only increasing. It's only bringing it more to the forefront. Things are getting more fearful in my eyes, right? More trauma is being felt and experienced as things get crazier, and as the world divides, and as things happen in my mind, right? In my perception. Now, be careful. This is not in everyone's perception. This is in the eye of the person who's experienced the trauma. And unfortunately, I can't hit the pause button on the trauma rising, because the exterior world, the outside world, is forcing something on me that I'm not ready. It's too much. It's too overpowering. It's hitting my deepest levels of vulnerability and safety and trauma without asking my permission. It's breaking my boundary wall, right? It's breaking through the boundary that I've set. Like, I'm healed, I've dealt with my trauma, but I'm not ready to go there, or I'm not ready to look at it on that level. This is my story. This is why my trauma is rising. But other people have other deep traumas inside, right? Childhood abuse, rape. They've seen terrible things in their past, and certain things will make that trauma rise. How do we know when it's too much? When we can't cope, right? When we cannot cope with the amount of stress it's putting on our bodies, our physical bodies, our thoughts, our emotions, right? Because they're all different things, and if they're all rising at once and swirling, we don't feel like we have control, because a lot of trauma is about controlling, and we feel out of control, overwhelmed, unable and incapable to cope. We sometimes are reduced to helpless victims, right? When I sat in the doctor's office the other day, I was reduced, okay? So I'm not a helpless victim. Let's start there. I'm not a helpless victim. I've lived a story. I've felt a trauma. I know what's right for me. I've grown. I've evolved as a human being. Since I originally sat in that doctor's chair and made the wrong choice, going back was like a full circle moment. But instead of being able to stand proud, I was reduced to a blubbering mess of tears and almost like a victim. Now, this was all subconscious, right? Consciously, I know I'm not a victim. Consciously, I know that he doesn't hold power over me and that he can't actually force me to do anything. But the thought of him not caring, not understanding, not validating my feelings, not having any sympathy or empathy, not making me feel safe or loved, and bringing up all those feelings, those prior feelings of abandonment and harm, and basically what I felt like was like a criminal activity. And in that moment, I wanted him to repent for the sins of all that had been done for me. And when he didn't, like, of course he wouldn't, I was reduced to tears. This is what happens when we feel so out of control or overwhelmed. We feel helpless, we feel abandoned, and we feel like a victim. Okay, so this victim mentality is very strong. All right, so we're analyzing my situation yesterday. So if you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it, because this was my trauma rising in real time. And now we're analyzing that situation so that we can learn from it. And this can help you learn and grow and understand trauma better. Because most of what we do in life, most of what goes on between our two ears in our mind is unconscious, is subconscious. Okay, whether we want to believe that or not, and no matter how much work we put into being conscious, whether it's conscious awareness, conscious breathing, conscious thinking, the truth and the sad truth is that most of our patterns, most of our values, most of what we believe is already set unconsciously. And that's why there's a lot of always inner conflict in our mind. Should I do that? Should I do this? Right? We have a lot of inner conflict because our conscious mind may want something else, and the subconscious mind has already said no. No, the subconscious mind has already decided for you. Right? That's where the discord happens. Why does our unconscious mind make a decision one way or the other? So if many of you have followed my teachings, my thoughts, I truly believe that the central nervous system, the fight or flight system, really is making all the calls. It is really the thing that is going to help heal us, and it's the thing that's going to help resolve trauma, and it's the thing that is, it is what's driving unconscious, subconscious patterns, behaviors, thoughts. Okay, always. Let's take a minute to look at the central nervous system and how that works in this situation. So the central nervous system has one job, and it has had one job since the beginning of evolution: to survive. That's it. It's not complicated. Survival, right? We go towards pleasure, we go away from pain. We go towards survival, away from fear, right? safety, we go towards safety and away from fear. This is how it works. This is always how it's worked. It's not going to change, right? So we use our conscious mind to try to override that. Okay, so have you ever wanted to do something? Whether it's start running or lose weight, stop smoking, stop drinking, stop eating that, piece of chocolate or that ice cream, or start doing something, start making a green smoothie, or start journaling, or start doing something that you know is going to be good for your healing and your health, right? Have you ever wanted that so badly? You consciously want that because all you want to do is heal more than anything in the world. Yet there's something that you know you could be doing and you're not doing it. You ever stop to think about why? Why is it that you're not doing that? You consciously want that. You consciously talk to yourself that you want that. Okay? There's a subconscious pattern or belief that has already said, nope, no. Because by doing that, I'm either going to be unsafe in some way, I'm going to feel bad in some way, I'm going towards pain, away from pleasure, I'm going towards something that's scary and away from safety. That's the bottom line. That's why no matter how badly you actually consciously want something, your subconscious has already said no. So if we're not catching those thoughts and those patterns as they arise and becoming aware of that, then we're just going to continue to go on and want something and not do it. So we have to consciously catch it every single time and make a different choice in the moment every time, and then continue to do it over and over. And that's how we build new patterns, right? That's how we make breakthroughs. That's how we build a new life, really. So back to the nervous system. The nervous system is in charge of you at all times, subconsciously, unconsciously. And it's your job to break those patterns, to catch it, and to make new decisions. But when we're under extreme stress, when our mind is racing, our emotions are rising, our thoughts are going, and we feel helpless or reduced to, because too much trauma is coming up at once, so we're reduced to helplessness or victimhood. We don't have enough strength to see our own patterns, to see our own thoughts, to see how we can break these patterns in the moment, because we're too weak, right? We're already weakened. So this is how we get tangled up in our stories in the moment. When I was sitting in that doctor's office, I was in the story. I was caught up in the thoughts between my ears. I was caught up in the emotions rising. I was caught up in the past, in the old trauma, in the old story, in the fears of the future. I was caught up in something that wasn't real. I was caught up and tangled up in an overwhelming trauma response. We're making little choices, something like, oh, I'm going to break the habit of having cereal in the morning and go for a smoothie instead, a whole food smoothie instead, because I know that causes me pain. I know that causes me suffering not to eat what I want. I'm not getting the comfort. It's harder work. It's going to be more expensive. I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm not getting the thing I really want, but I consciously really want that. So I'm going to override this. I'm going to make the choice. I'm going to build a new habit, a new behavior, and I can see this thought and I'm going to override it. But when you're tangled up in something as deep seated as trauma, it's really hard to let your conscious come forth and override those subconscious beliefs and patterns and feelings of needing safety, security, and just going away from pain, going away from something that's more hurtful, more traumatizing, more painful, right? So we're going away from, not necessarily that we're going towards pleasure, but we're going away from something that hurts deeply. Right? We don't want to feel all this trauma coming up. So we're putting walls up and saying, no, I'm not going to go there. Right? We're subconsciously doing that. We're not saying, oh, this is a great opportunity in the world. The world is giving me on a silver platter all my issues right in front of me to deal with so that I can have growth, so that I can come through this. That's not what we're thinking of in the moment. We're thinking, this is too painful. I've subconsciously put a wall up. I can't deal with this. And the more that is forced or put on my plate, the more I shut down and just dissolve into helplessness. So if you're with me, then what can we do? What can we do? What can we do to help this? to make sure we don't have a traumatic break or a nervous breakdown because the trauma is coming up too hard, too fast, too intense, and overpowering for what we feel like we can cope with, right? Okay, so we're gonna stop here, we're gonna take a breath, and now I'm going to tell you what we need to do. And this is not just, this is my situation with what's going on in the world right now, and it may also be triggering for you, but you may have your own trauma responses that you need to deal with, and your own traumatic triggers and your own traumatic tidal wave that threatens your safety. And so you can relate this to your own situation. So there's really 3 things that we have control over as human beings. That we have total control, sovereignty, that we have agency over, and these are our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions, okay? So whether you believe you have, power over your own body in these areas, you do, okay? So when the thoughts are swirling, when the emotions are rising, and when what we're doing and saying, our words that we're speaking and our actions that we're doing, they're all under our control. Even though it feels like they're not, because our subconscious is running the show. For those of you who know me, the first thing always is awareness. So right now, I have the awareness. Why? Because I'm removed from the situation of the day. Yesterday, I was so tangled up that I couldn't remove myself and get the distance to have the awareness. So now I have the awareness. So sometimes it takes minutes to get the awareness. Sometimes it's hours. Sometimes you wake up the next day and you're like, oh man, I was tangled up in a trauma story. Still, that is good because now you just got the awareness. That's step one. That's always step one. Become aware. Well, how do we get awareness? How do we break out of that cycle earlier, first of all? Right? How can we just become aware quicker? You can write sticky notes all over your house. Awareness, become aware. Write it on your phone, write it somewhere that you'll notice, right? Wake up from your unconscious thoughts as often as you can. You can remove yourself from the stressful environment. You can put yourself in a safer environment. Okay, now we should be able to have control over our thoughts and become aware, even when we're in the midst of our tornado, even when we're in the midst of, something that's swirling. However, if we don't need to be there, then put yourself in an environment that feels safe, that feels calming, that feels protective, and that feels pleasurable, comforting. Sitting in that doctor's office, continuing to stay there, or continuing to come home and scroll on through the internet and read stories that are going to only reinforce those feelings, those helpless and victimhood feelings, is not going to help me become aware or break out of this story faster. You put yourself in an environment that feels comforting, safe, loving, full, right? You might watch something funny, or read something, or make a gratitude list, or have a different conversation, or go out and collect seashells on the beach. Just break from what's happening in the environment and look around and notice there's a whole big world. And if you don't shine your flashlight on that part of awareness of what's happening in the world, you can shine it on something else. If you haven't heard me talk about the flashlight before, it's if you're in a dark room and I give you a flashlight and you turn it on and I say, what's in the room? And you've pointed it at a toy car, you're going to tell me a toy car. If I put someone else in the room and ask them to shine a flashlight and they see a toothbrush and I ask them what's in the room, they're going to say a toothbrush, right? So whatever you're shining your flashlight of awareness on is what is reality. So notice that there's more going on in the environment around you. There's so much more choices that are feeling safe and happy and peaceful and all the things that you want, but you can't see them because you've got your flashlight shined on something that feels so overwhelming. It feels like it's the only thing that exists, but it's not. You can write sticky notes. You can literally remind yourself with a reminder of some kind, or you can remove yourself into an environment that you feel safe enough that your mind will suddenly go, oh, there's more. Okay, I'm aware. Just like I did. I did the whole thing. I slept on it. I woke up. It's a new day. And I'm like, wow, I really got caught up in something yesterday. I really got caught up in the trauma that was rising. The other way, and I feel the most important way to wake up and become aware, is to calm your central nervous system. And this is not just in the first step, but it's in all the steps. Haven't seen my videos on the fight or flight system, on the central nervous system, on all the stuff. It's so important. It's the basis for everything. It's the basis for healing your body. It's the basis for healing your mental, physical, and emotional conditions. It's the basis for healing trauma. First comes calming the central nervous system, always. Once we calm the central nervous system, we can always then become aware. So as you're calming your central nervous system through your breathing, through your relaxation techniques, right? All the different techniques that you can do to calm your central nervous system, you're going to become aware. Once you become aware, that's the first step in being able to solve something. Become aware, oh, I see it now. I see it. This is trauma. This is what trauma looks like rising. I'm tangled in a story. My unconscious, my subconscious is trying to protect me. I'm not choosing from a conscious place right now. I'm being led from a subconscious place. Okay, and this happens. So this isn't your fault. This is what is supposed to happen. Your nervous system is supposed to do this. That's why you're still alive. That's why you're still here, because your nervous system values safety above all else. Okay, it's going to take you away from anything that doesn't feel safe. So once we get there, what can we do? Like I said, we have thoughts, feelings, emotions, and our actions. So the first thing is we're going to look at our thoughts. We have to slow down our thoughts. We have to pay very close attention. And when I say close attention, very close attention to what is going on in our mind, between our ears. That belongs to us. We cannot let the subconscious and the swirling thoughts run the show, right? You have to direct your thoughts somewhere different. That's up to you. That is your job. You have full control and agency over that. So you and you alone are the only person that can control what's going on in your mind. So if you are thinking, oh my God, this happened in the past, I can't believe it, it's so terrible, look what's going on in the world, I can't believe this person is doing this, right? And then your future thinking, you're going, what's gonna happen, but what if, oh my God, and this, and this, and this. You're doing that. You are doing that. Once you become aware, you can realize that you have control over not doing that. It's hard because your subconscious is pointing you toward safety. And by reminding you and swirling all these thoughts in your head, it is already telling you what direction to go, right? So just say, okay, mind, I got it. I hear you. You want me to feel safe. I'm going to make the decision. I'm going to do the thing that helps me feel safe so you can calm down, because I'm going to take control of what's going on in my mind, what's going on between my ears. That's mine and mine alone. And if you're not gonna do it, if you're gonna say, but I'm helpless to what's going on in my mind, then you are in victim mentality mode. You are in a helpless mode. You have not yet become aware. You have not yet calmed down your central nervous system. Go back, repeat those steps. Once you do that, you will become aware. You will grow. You will become enlightened. You will understand. You have control and you must exercise it. It's not enough to realize it. You must exercise it. You must say, I'm taking control of these thoughts. We are going to do this. This is what I want my life to look like. So I'm going in this direction. I'm thinking in this direction. So let's talk about the law of attraction for a minute and the law of vibration. The reason why this law works, the reason why these laws work, is because we are going toward what we want. We are going toward what makes us feel good. So we direct our mind, our thoughts, and then our feelings, the emotions, we direct them towards what we do want. And we say, enough. I'm not going to spiral in this tornado of a soup that I'm literally creating. I'm going to stop scrolling. I'm going to stop listening. I'm going to stop thinking about this. You can go towards what feels good. You can, remember, shine the flashlight on the things in your life that you want. What are your goals? What are your dreams? But I can't because I'm dealing with this. And what if this happens? And I have to protect myself and I have to protect my family. And I don't know, there's no point. If I can't deal with this, I can't deal with anything. Wrong. That is the spiral. That is the thoughts. You have to take control of these thoughts. You have to stop them. You have to say, okay, nothing has really changed here except what's going on in my mind. And if I cease to let it live in my mind, it ceases to exist. It only exists if you think it into existence, right? The thought comes before the thing. It exists because you think about it, because you focus on it, because you shine light on it. Turn the light off of what you don't want. Turn it off. Turn it on to something different. You have that power. Next, your emotions. Your emotions are going to rise. Do we try to stop these? No. These are not the same as thoughts. Never try to stop your feelings and emotions that are rising. The fear, the grief, the anger, the frustration, the abandonment, whatever it is, the feeling, the overwhelm, whatever is rising in you is not meant to be turned off. You do not have control to turn that off. When we try, and our mind will try, we suppress it, we reject it, we turn away from it, we distract from it, we deny it. And this gets us in trouble because it doesn't go away. It gets pushed down deeper. It gets stored inside. That is what causes our body to break down. This is what causes illness. There's too much feelings trapped inside there because we're afraid to feel them. We're afraid to let it out. We're afraid for others to see it. We're afraid to be embarrassed. We're afraid to be overwhelmed. We're afraid of what it will look like. We're afraid of what it will feel like. Feeling is the only way to have these emotions pass. It's like a rain cloud. You don't stop a rain cloud. You allow it, it rains, and then it passes. And there's no more rain left in the cloud. That is how it works. Right? So stopping a rising feeling is only postponing the storm. Okay, so we allow what's rising now to rise. We feel it, we look at it. We do nothing with it. We don't try to change it in any way. We just accept what's coming up. This is what needs to be felt right now, and I'm going to be brave enough to feel it. I'm going to be brave enough to let it be there until it passes like a storm cloud. Okay, I want you to think of it that way. The more that you suppress, deny, try to fix it, change it, argue with it, whatever you're trying to do with it, right? These feelings and emotions, you are postponing the cloud. You are postponing the storm. The cloud is only getting heavier and darker. When it rains, it will only be more violent and a bigger storm, right? We don't want to let it accumulate in the storm. We have to the rain has to fall every time it's hit. It falls, then it passes, then it gets some more rain in it and it falls. We don't want to let it accumulate and get grayer and darker and blacker until finally there's no more room left in the cloud and it spills out violently, causing massive storms and damage to all around. So be brave enough to sit and know that you're strong enough to handle whatever it is that you don't want to feel and you don't want to handle and you wish it was different and you want it to be like this or like that, and here it is and you can't handle or cope. Just sit, just breathe, just allow. Again, calm your central nervous system, redirect your thoughts, shine the consciousness on you want, but let your emotions be felt. Very, very important. And then third thing is actions. What do we choose to do now? Now that we've become aware, we've calmed our nervous system, we've taken control of our thoughts, we've allowed our emotions and our feelings to rise, to be felt. Now we take an action. Now we do something. What do we choose to do? Are you going to choose something that is going to reinforce the fear, the anger, the frustration, the grief, the sadness, the trauma, the behavior, the patterns, right? Are we going to do something that's going to reinforce that and make it stronger, that trauma pattern, or are we going to do something different? Are we going to do something out of our comfort zone that doesn't feel safe, that doesn't feel known, that maybe doesn't feel like you're capable or strong enough, but are you going to do the thing that improves your situation, that breaks the subconscious patterns of trauma? Are you going to do something that moves you closer to what you want, closer to how you want to feel, closer to what you want in your life, closer to the feelings of love and joy and belonging and acceptance? Are you going to shine your flashlight on that? Are you going to act in accordance to that? Or are you going to act out of fear, out of pain, out of sorrow, out of confusion, out of abandonment, out of loss, out of fear, and reinforce this trauma pattern, this negative pattern, the very thing that you don't want to call into your life? Are you going to act by creating more of it? Because at some point, right, you've calmed yourself, you've removed yourself into a new environment, you're breathing, you've understood, you've become aware, you're taking control of your thoughts, you're allowing your feelings to rise. But at some point you can't just sit, in a room by yourself, or take that time out and do this meditation, or however it is that it looks for you. You have to re-engage with the world. And when you do, you're going to say something, do something. What is it that you're going to do? Are you going to go out and cook your favorite meal? Or are you going to go back and scroll the news that's going to make you depressed and sad and anxious and fearful? Are you going to go out and go for a walk and clear your mind in a beautiful environment and think about things that you want in your life? Or are you going to get caught up in an argument with your spouse about differences of opinions or philosophies? Are you going to sit down and write that book, or work on a project, or apply for a job, or do whatever it is that you want to do and that you want to create in your life? Or are you going to sit down and start to think and cry and complain about all the reasons why that's impossible and all the obstacles that are standing in your way? Are you going to go play with your children and be happy and forget everything going on in the world? Or are you going to lament, focus on the things that you don't want? This is where action is important. You become aware, you're taking control of your thoughts, right? If you're truly allowing your feelings to rise, you've become aware, it should be easy. Action should be easy. Once you are ready to re-engage with the world, re-engage with the situation, re-engage with the storm that is reality, you got to re-engage with reality. There's something going on in the environment, in your relationship, in the world, in your family, wherever it is that you don't like and you can't cope with, that reduced you to helplessness and victimhood and had you spinning in a tornado of self-pity and trauma. But when you re-engage with that world, now that you've stepped out and done this work, how will you re-engage? That is a choice, and it's an important choice. It's one of the most important choices that you can do, because the actions that you do, the words that you speak, the actions that you take, the words that you speak, the thoughts that you think, the emotions that you feel are guiding you. They're informing your life. Where are you going to put your flashlight? Okay? If you don't want to see the toy car and you do want to see the toothbrush, shine it at the toothbrush. Stop shining it at the car. Over time, you will forget that there's a car in the room. If you are solely focused on the toothbrush, eventually the car will cease to exist. Do not shine your light over there. Shine your light where you want it to go. Okay, so this was a long video. This was an important video. Again, if you haven't seen yesterday's video, go watch it. It was my trauma response, my rising trauma to the situation in the world that is hitting my exact deep, overwhelming trauma. Now I'm teaching you how to deal with the trauma in real time, what to do, how do we heal. This is what heals trauma. This is how you heal trauma. Remember, sometimes you're overwhelmed and it's too much at one time. Yes. And sometimes there's nothing you can do to stop that. Yes. But follow these steps. Watch this video. They're important. Stay in each step for as long as it takes. Know your plan. Know what you're doing. Know where you're going. Know what it's for. Remember, right? Wake up. Become aware. We're breaking habits here. We're redirecting a subconscious pattern that is from your central nervous system and is the most important thing that is keeping you safe and alive and to survive on planet Earth. This is not an easy thing to do. We do it in steps. We understand by watching this video, but then we practice. We do it. We realize, we see it happening in real time, we go through it. And the more you go through this, the more you heal. And the more you've set your chart, no matter what is happening, the more you direct your life to be what you want it. I know if you're still saying, yeah, but, and what about this, and what about this, and I can't, then you're still in fight or flight. You haven't done the most important thing, which is calm the central nervous system. Stay there. Stay there until you feel calm and then move on. Right? We can stay in these steps until we need to. We can go through them fast. We can repeat them. These steps may come out of order, right? You may not be able to control your thoughts or get control of your thoughts before you feel your emotions. You may have to feel your emotions in depth, like feel what is rising and coming up before you can take control of your thoughts. Or you may have to take control of your thoughts before you're able to feel and allow yourself to feel what's rising. And you may have to go back and forth between these many, many times, but don't move to the take action step. Do not take action. Do not respond or react until you've dealt with your thoughts and your emotions first, okay? So those two are interchangeable, but the action, don't respond. Don't take action. Sometimes you may need to take action, but it's if you're in the trauma response, if you're in fight or flight, it's going to be the wrong action. So we need to get out of a fight or flight response. We need to calm our central nervous system, take control of our mind, feel our emotions, and then redirect our life to where we want it to go. Speak our words, make our actions incongruent to what we do want, incongruent to breaking the old pattern that we don't want. We have to consciously do this, consciously override the strong unconscious impulse and patterns that are there really to keep you safe and protect you. They're not against you, but we are changing that. Okay, this is how you make the change. Rinse, lather, repeat. This is what it takes to heal trauma. It's not quick, it's not fast, it's not easy, but it can be done. It can be done. You can heal it, I can heal it, we can heal it. So I hope this video has been helpful. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. And I will see you in the next video.